Gargoyles! Gargoyles! Oh, gargoyles! Oh, yeah, gargoyles! Do you hear me calling you?
Nottingham, Nottingham. Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank for the round of Comic Chat, and today we've got Gargoyles. So we got Gargoyles issue 11. So if you recall when we last left off, Goliath had been declared that he is capable of sentience and is entitled to the same rights and protections as all other humans. So there you go. So then he gets an announcement from Preston Vogel that Renard is dying. So that's where he goes. So, where are we now? So now we have a certain other story here. We have the narration started with Nashville. So, how did I forget? So our Funko is Prince John. Yeah. Like I said, I got the entire Robin Hood line. And I really like this Prince John. I do. He looks just goofy enough. Just goofy. Like, this is the one line I'm willing to take in a fight. This is it. I'm pretty sure I can beat his ass. But anyway. Our opening narration is by Nashville, the son of Brooklyn and Katana. And what Nashville talks about here is the dynamic between Brooklyn, Broadway, and Lexington. He's always heard this was such a great dynamic. The three caballeros, this golden trio. So he's noticed that they haven't quite been as unified since then. So he's trying to figure out what's going on here. Hopefully they can be that sort of trio. Meanwhile, Broadway gets a call from Tony. What was it? I forget her name. Tony Dracon's sister. And this is really just a big conversation about exactly what is going on. Pretty much with the criminal underworld. So they've all sort of realized, but the two rival groups that Dino had set against each other, I realize they're being played by Dino. Tony Dracon is contacting his people saying, hey, something's going on here. Dino Dracon tried to take me out, so my uncle tried to have me whacked. And Glasses, like, hey, it's getting crazy up here. What are we going to do? And Dino comes with the idea, like, let's kill both those kids. All right? And just go from there. Make each side think the other did it, and boop, boop, doop, more chaos. This is what Dino wants. He wants to sow all this chaos, and then they swoop in and just take over. Good idea. The problem is everyone's starting to realize Dino Dracon's behind this. All right, so the whole thing starts to fall apart. So she goes to the Gargoyles like, I know you don't care about my brother, but this has to be stopped. Otherwise, a bunch of innocent people are going to get hurt. So, like, fine. They do it. Meanwhile, at police headquarters, Chavez is giving Elisa Miles the rundown. The fact, after all this time, you have kept your relationship, your connection with the Gargoyles, a secret from me, leaving me to deal with all of this. So in other words, her credibility is now called into question because, hey, one of her own people had been working with the Gargoyles for years and she didn't know about it. But is anyone really going to accept that? Believe that? No. So the question is, what are they going to do? Meanwhile, the story that I found more interesting is everyone getting together to watch Preston, Halcyon Renard's last moments. We cut to Lexington, Broadway, Brooklyn, and Nashville, and Lexington talks about, hey, you didn't really argue with us about this, so you jump down our throat about this. Or, and Brooklyn's sort of like, look, Goliath's going to come back soon, but what really mattered at the end of the day was that, we had to save lives, all right? Gargoyles protect, all right? But we're not going to go on this half-cocked. We're going to go in with a plan first. We're going to recon and then come up with a plan. And Lex and Broadway agree, and Nash's like, okay, cool, this is going to be great. He gets to see his dad and his best friends go at it. And, it's a cool feeling, to see your dad and his friends be badasses, So the question now is, with Elisa and Chavez, is what to do with Elisa. Matt Bluestone, who is the head of the Gargoyle Task Force, is like, hold on. There might be a way here. Chavez points out, so hang on, you were definitely Lisa's partner. Did you know about this? Like, Yeah, I did. But hold on. I have an idea that's gonna fix all of this. All right. So points to map. So anyway, at the old warehouse, the gargoyles are getting ready to kill the kids, and they're like, you can not kill us. Like, yeah, we're gonna do that. So we then cut to, again, my favorite part of this, Renard's last moments, and Renard looks at Xanatos and is like, I've already got a plan. All right, you won't be able to take anything from me, Renard. From me, Xanatos. I was like, wouldn't dream of it right now. He says that 49% of everything he owns, everything he owns is tied into his company, Cyberbiotics. 49% of that is going to Fox, to his daughter. And Fox is like, okay, Dad, it's not the way I wanted to get it, but, I appreciate it. She wants to steal Cyberbiotics from her dad. That's kind of it. Like, she wants to choose the most complicated path to her inheritance. Like, he flat out says in one episode, I'll give you the company. Like, if you just ask for it. He's like, nah, I want to steal it from you, Dad. But anyway, he's like, yeah, I know. I understand how you want it. It's a fond moment. He then says, like, hey, so another 49% is being left to his grandson, Alex. And the person in charge of that, the proxy, will be Preston Vogel. And the question is, what's the remaining 2%? So 49% goes to Fox. 49% goes to Alex. So in other words, they don't have a controlling share. Who has that controlling share? And Renard points out it's going to be Goliath. And Goliath's like, what? So Goliath will be the deciding vote. All right, theoretically, whatever they want to do, it'll come up down to them. Granted, no, because so legally, Fox, even though Alex is her son, the person in charge of those shares, and i.e. his voice, would be Preston Vogel. So they're deadlocked. Goliath will be the deciding vote, and Xanatos points out this makes you one of the richest people in Manhattan. All right. It's not you're not Thalog rich, but you got some green, Goliath. You got some green. Meanwhile, Brooklyn and company decide to apprehend the fake gargoyles. It's weird that whole angle never went anywhere, like these fake gargoyles going around committing crimes and whatnot. But then gargoyles come in mechs, gargoyles in mechs, or just really mechs with gargoyle electronic faces. So there's that. Renard explains to Goliath, like, hey, the reason I waited so long, the reason I did all this was because I need to make sure you were in good standing before I did this. So in other words, he's doing this to sort of help Goliath out, but he also had to make sure Goliath was in good standing so it would stick. Now that Goliath has all those rights, hey, he's got money. He's got this, and it's a nice, touching thing that he did. Probably not something that you get automatically, but I'm sure it'll come in handy later. He then talks to Janine. So it's important to note about Janine. Janine's not her real name, all right? It's not her real face, not her real body. She is Titania, all right? Queen of Avalon, wife of Oberon, guardian of the third race. And it's an interesting moment here, I think. I am wrong. That is Janine. That is Janine, a.k.a. Fox. All right? And Renard apologized. Like, I know I was not always the best dad. I know I wasn't an easy person to get along with. To which she responds, I wasn't the easiest daughter to raise. And they both sort of are like, hey, I loved you. All right. And she says, hey, I loved you too, Dad. And it's great to see that sort of closure because you never quite knew exactly what their dynamic was. The closest we got was the whole cyberbiotics thing when he says, hey, I'd have given the company if you'd asked for it. And then she says she loved him enough to say, hey, you're going to be a grandfather. So there's that. Meanwhile, the fight between the gargoyles and the fake gargoyles goes on about as well as you think, but because of Mafia, they come in with the heat. But luckily, they take care of that. Um, Renard talks to Titania. I'm gonna do that whole scene again. Titania, Queen of Avalon, wife of Oberon, guardian of the third race. And he talks about, hey, you don't have to pretend to be Anastasia. And, it's nice, but Anastasia points out there was nothing pretend about her life as Anastasia. And there was nothing pretend about her feelings for him. So I think that's nice, because Titania herself mentioned that, she loved Renard as much as she possibly could. Intellectually, they got along very well, but he just didn't have that spark that she needs from Oberon. There's been no other man. It's been Renard and Oberon. The two people couldn't be any more different. I love it. So anyway, the Brooklyn, Broadway, Lexington, and Nashville save the kids, get out. Little do they know that one of the fake gargoyles was Dino. So Dino apparently is very hands-on. I respect him for it. He's still kind of boring and kind of terrible. Maybe I'm being unfair to him. We'll give the whole series another reread. So, he says he's got another plan that will bring Manhattan to its knees. In other words, you can keep a Dracon down, even when they fail every step of the way. So anyway, everyone flies off. We're feeling good. They carry the kids back to presumably their mafia connection family, and Renard passes away as the comic ends. Ultimately, Gargoyles issue 11, I wish this cover was the story. I really do sort of like the idea that as the trio is back, the trio of Broadway, Lexington, and Brooklyn are brought back to life, Renard dies. But at the same time, I also would have liked this ceremony of Broadway and Angela, this new chapter as another chapter closes. Take or leave whichever one. Overall, though, nice. The problem is this street level stuff just didn't quite work. Ultimately, Goliath is arrested because of something the Mafia did. Because of the actions of Dino Dracon. And none of that ever seems to connect properly. I don't know. I think the problem is because the whole Goliath being arrested had little to do with the Mafia. The question was, the arrest was to set up the question, do gargoyles qualify for rights, So, there we go. Next is Gargoyles Dark Ages. So, this story gets weird and weirder every time, but in the most fun way. I didn't see that one coming, but whatever. It's still cool. And this one pushes that to, ironically, 11. So, here we are with this issue. Alliance is pretty much we see the Gargoyles building Castle Wyvern. And what's interesting about this is they talk about, hey, it'll probably be about 5 years before the castle is brought to fruition, although they point out it will take more than 5 years without this. But, now they have humans working during the day, also protecting the gargoyles, and gargoyles working at night, and also protecting humans. So it's a nice job there. We see I really wish they weren't here yet, but I guess age-wise it sort of works out. The Gargoyles will know as Broadway, Brooklyn, and Lexington are going around. Lexington takes an interest in human technology and I wonder what this does. And they kind of break it, and so they go off. So anyway, Alisande goes with the Gargoyle kids, and she goes flying. And I love this because the last issue ended with her dreaming of flying. So now we have her getting her dream. It is nice, it's sweet, it's tender. I love it, I really do. So what happens? They come to a cave, and this is definitely the cave from the Old Wounds episode. A lot of what we're getting is from Old Wounds. And I do love we're exploring this cave, this chamber. And as they go further down, they find something. And they're like, hey, you need to stay here, don't move. Why? Because there's gold in this cave. And you're in Europe, you find a cave, it's full of gold, guess what? There's a dragon. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So, in Gargoyles, we actually haven't seen a dragon before, not counting the comics that I've read. So, there's that. We do get sort of an idea of a dragon in the Goliath Chronicles when Arthur Pendragon comes down and they fight a fake dragon. But for the most part, it's close we ever get to a dragon. Maybe the Loch Ness Monster, if you want to argue that. But really, we've never seen a dragon before. Meanwhile, we see a bunch of other stuff going on here. We see the humans sort of talking about the Council progress. We see the artisans talking. We see... why did we forget? We see the... why can't I remember her name? Is it Desdemona? Is it? I forget. She is learning her undergoing her spiritual training to become a priestess. We see Demona undergoing her training under the Archmage, reading, I believe, it's the story of the Frog and the Scorpion. So there's an interesting story that I think is going to help shape Demona's worldview later. But each time they all sort of sense something is going on. Something is changing in the winds. Something is waking up. And what happens? Well, the dragon wakes up. And everyone's like, oh dear, I sense something. Something bad's happening. Something's going on. Something's in my bones. Something's in the wind. Even the Archmage is like, stop reading. Something's happening. I'm about to start my villain arc early. So, the dragon wakes up. Alright? And it's like, oh, okay, how does this dragon fit into this story here? Because the kids didn't know about him, so what? And he says, okay, so who are you guys? What are you doing here? And they say, hey, we are Gargoyles of the Wyvern clan. And he says, oh, the Wyvern clan? Okay, cool. You're my kin, all right? You're my descendants. You know, I birthed you all. All right, I created you. And I put you in charge of protecting my lands. All right? And, like, protect your lands from what? From humans, of course. And, like, oh. This is where Lexington proves he's not the smart one. He's like, but we work with humans. And like, I'm sorry, what? He's like super mad. And it's like, so like, hey, look, we have a good agreement with them. They protect us during the day. We protect them at night. We're all trying to soften the blow. But actually, Broadway gets it backwards. You know, they protect us at night and we protect them during the day. I'm like, that's not how that works. Not how that works. And he's like, you know what? I can't believe this. The audacity of you all doing this to me. And so he's like, I am hungry. I think I smell what I want to eat. So first, like, are you gonna eat gargoyles? Like, no, I don't eat gargoyles. First of all, I'm essentially your ancestor. That'd be just rude. Also, probably wouldn't taste well. And I smell human. And it's Alicent. Like, Alicent, run, run, run. Why didn't she run the second the dragon said he hated humans? So they go. They're fleeing. They're fleeing. I don't know how they're not making much ground, but I guess whatever. Because they're running on two legs. If you watch the series, most gargoyles run on all fours. They get more speed that way, I guess. And so as he comes out and looks at everything, he's like, oh, is that a human settlement on my land? And he's going to go... You've all seen The Desolation of Smaug. And the Battle of the Five Armies. If you haven't... But anyway, that's how the comic ends. Ultimately, issue 5 is... I'm sorry, let's just put it on. The dragon. I didn't see a dragon coming. Will this be what kills young Alicent, which sets the captain to be pro-gargoyle? But then again, how would the death of Alicent at the hand of the dragon make him pro-gargoyle? Would it be that because something happened that involves the humans not being their best, ergo all of this? Are they going to blame the girl for that? Alright, and they just also blame the girl and the gargoyles. And the gargoyles like, this was nobody's fault, it was an accident. Alright, and goes from there. Who knows? We don't quite know. Overall, though, this was fun. It was interesting. Who's going to kill the dragon? Will Goliath defeat the dragon? Will that be how, like... So, Goliath's strength is sort of noted as being a big deal. Alright? So, in the series, they talk about how Demona and Macbeth are these legendary warriors. It's only because they can't die. And they've had centuries of time. 1,000 years at least. To just, study. Goliath has foiled their plans or fought them to a draw. So that's impressive considering he's only probably the same age as Elisa for Gargoyle, I think. So that's impressive. So what do we do then? So what does that say? Is Goliath's victory over the dragon sort of what solidifies him as probably next in line. Granted, it'll be an entirely other issue that sets Goliath up to be the leader of the clan. But whatever. Overall, really exciting. I love when the story takes a turn I didn't expect. I did not expect a freaking dragon. So anyway, with that, mine brings to a close here. If you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, check out some other videos, and I'll catch you all later. This is Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.
I'd like to send a little something to all you gargoyles and gargettes out there running amok tonight. And it goes something like this.
Here, gargoyles. Gargoyles. Oh, gargoyles. Oh, yeah, gargoyles. Do you hear me calling ya? Come on home to me. 'Cause I need you, my macabre gargoyle.
Come to me, gargoyles.
Oh, God.